Speed cameras were supposed to be introduced to keep the roads safer, but that was never really true. They were always positioned to fleece the motorist. Now, thousands of drivers have been wrongly penalised for speeding, subject to a guilty until proved innocent principle. Faulty cameras have led to fines, points and bans, with some drivers saying they know they weren't over the limit, but it was too burdensome to appeal. If the technology gets it wrong, where does that leave trust in the highway code? And is it time to scrap the cameras altogether? Well, I'm joined now by the criminal defence lawyer and road safety specialist, Nick Freeman, also known as Mr. Loophole. Nick, thank you for joining me. I've always been very suspicious of speed cameras because you notice that they are placed on steep hills and where people are most likely to be finding it quite difficult to keep to a speed limit. It's always been, hasn't it, a catch penny to get motorists.
I think, Jacob, what you're saying is they're a cash cow, and I think they have certainly become a cash cow. They originally were designed to ensure they were placed at accident black spots, and I think most motorists would agree with that. But we're in a situation now where literally we're obsessed with how fast we're going. We're reliant on a system of robotical policing, and the authorities largely ignore all the other aspects of driving. So we have motorists who are literally glued to their speedometer and ignoring other serious aspects. And in my view, as someone who unfortunately has to travel about 50,000 miles a year on our roads and have done for about 40 years, I've never seen driving as bad as it is now. People seem to be completely unfamiliar with the highway code, unfamiliar with the rules of the road, and there's no one there to enforce it. So I think it's time for a rethink.
And these speed cameras that have been shown now to be faulty, that they didn't account for the change in speed limit on smart motorways. Motorways are our safest roads. There's never been any reason really for them on motorways other than the cash cow element, has there? They're not black spots on motorways.
They're definitely not black spots. I mean, as you're aware, most of the motorways, you actually struggle to get up to the speed limit. It's very rare that you can actually get up to 70 miles an hour because the congestion is so heavy. So we have them placed so that your average speed is measured literally as you go from top to bottom. As I say, that just increases an obsession with how fast you're going and largely ignores all the other features. And when you think about the amount of crime, the number of criminals are going up and down the motorway, the drugs, the guns, the fact that they're under the influence of drugs, under the influence of alcohol, all these aspects now go largely untouched because we are a state which is obsessed with speed. And, you know, speed is one aspect of bad driving. There are so many other aspects which now, unfortunately, are largely ignored. And what's happened recently, it just completely destroys the public trust in these cameras and makes the public believe, makes the drivers believe, you're just here to fleece us because we're easy prey.
And when you're driving on the motorway, you see people who stick endlessly in the middle lane, people who overtake on the inside, all these things that are quite dangerous driving techniques that the police are never there to do anything about. And it seems to me with speeding, when it was enforced by the police had discretion, and they would stop people who were driving badly rather than people who were just going a little bit over the limit.
Yeah. I mean, look, there is a tolerance zone. The tolerance zone is 10% +1, so drivers are allowed some latitude. But, you know, the idea of motorway is to get from A to B quickly and safely. The 70 mile an hour speed limit, I think, was the maximum speed of the Ford Anglia, and that was, I think, late 50s, 1957, 58. Cars have come on a great deal. What is the point in having motorways where we're now reducing the speed to 40 miles an hour when it's empty, 50 miles an hour when it's empty, the constant variance in speed, which again increases the obsession with speed. It just doesn't make sense. The motorist needs to be trusted to drive safely. And in my view, one of the things that needs to happen is because there are so many people who are on our roads now who have never actually taken a UK test, and we need to revamp the UK test, is to have a test on the highway code at least every 10 years. And if you don't pass that, then you don't drive. It's as simple as that, because people are largely completely unfamiliar. You talked about lane hogging. We have 4 lanes. We've spent millions and millions of pounds on establishing an extra lane. And what happens is lane 1 1 is completely devoid of traffic. It's astonishing. And so what's happening is people are sitting in lane 3 with lane 1 and 2 completely empty. And, you know, you come up behind them, you're patient, you indicate, you flash. They don't even understand what you're talking about.
Is it legal to overtake on the inside on a 4-lane motorway if somebody's doing that?
Well, look, the short answer is it is illegal. But if the inside lane is travelling more quickly than the outside lane, then it is legal. So it depends on the particular circumstances. You know, the cameras don't have a discretion, do they? But they don't deal, unfortunately, with lane hogging.
Hogging.
We've started.
That was a bit naughty of me, Nick. Thank you for coming on. I've got free legal advice of you, which is probably very unfair of me, but I'm very grateful. A Department of Transport spokesman has said, "We apologise to anyone who's been affected. Safety was never compromised. We are working with policing to ensure nobody is incorrectly prosecuted in the future. Enforcement is still in place and the public can remain confident." Oh, this is all rubbish. Any motorists who break the rules will be penalised when they've just penalised people who didn't break the rules. Liar, liar, pants on fire.